Good evening and welcome to On the Record, I-24 News' new in-depth interview show. Every week, I'll be speaking with key experts and decision makers from Israel and around the region on the core issues concerning the Middle East. I am pleased to introduce our guest tonight, former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert. Olmert served as Israel's premier from 2006 to 2009. Under his term, Israel fought two wars, in Lebanon in 2006 and in Gaza in 2008. And it destroyed the nuclear reactor in Syria in 2007. He was a founding member of the Kadima party, under which he served as prime minister. Before that, he was a minister for the Likud party. Olmert was also the mayor of Jerusalem between 1993 and 2003. Former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Hello.
So we're about a month and a half into this very shaky ceasefire in the Gaza Strip. The agreement saw the release of all the living hostages, but not all the bodies of the hostages have been returned. It also calls for the disarmament of Hamas, which till this moment isn't really clear who will take this on. So did Israel make the right move by agreeing to this Trump deal?
Well, first of all, the truth is that Israel had nothing much to say about it. It was imposed on us, and I'm very happy that we did it. So I think, yes, even though perhaps the decision maker was not the Israeli prime minister, but rather the president of the United States imposing it and forcing the prime minister, I'm very happy that we surrendered to that pressure and that we took part in implementing this ceasefire, and I hope that we are not trying to shake it now.
But do you see this agreement, this ceasefire, as the solution for the threat from Hamas and Gaza?
Oh, it's not a solution, a comprehensive, permanent, eternal solution. Middle East is not the most stable arena in the first place, but this is the first step. Of course, the end of the process is the total pullout of Israel from Gaza. Gaza is not Israeli. It has to remain clear to all of us. Gaza is not part of Israel and will not be part of the state of Israel. It will be part of Palestine. And Palestinians have to take over with the assistance of the international community, and I think now the effort is made in order to implement the UN resolution that more or less translated the 20 points that President Trump announced first, and if I may say, without sounds too presumptuous, with the proposal to end the war in Gaza, which Dr. Nasser al-Qudwa from the Palestinian Authority and myself published in July of 2024, almost a year and a half before.
But this international security force, the ISF, is not only supposed to prevent Hamas from carrying out new attacks, it's also supposed to really go and dismantle its infrastructure to disarm Hamas. Do you see that happening?
Listen, it's about time that we will start to be serious, which is not easy for Israel under the present circumstances and the present leadership. What did we do for the last 2 years, do you think, in Gaza? Did we not destroy the infrastructure of Hamas to almost 100% degree? Of course, there is there are some weapons here and there spread, and there are still tunnels which were not destroyed completely. But the bulk of the basis of what Hamas power was eradicated almost completely. Most of the leadership was eliminated.
I want to ask you about something that you wrote back in May in an op-ed for Haaretz, in which you accused Israel of committing war crimes in Gaza. You wrote, the government of Israel is currently waging a war without purpose, without goals, or clear planning, and with no chances of success. In hindsight, do you still stand by these accusations?
Absolutely. Absolutely. This, by the way, I was the first And when I said it, considering the fact I was Prime Minister of Israel, and of course my name is well known in the international arena, so it got exposure
Got a lot of traction.
on an international basis. But let's face it, thousands of Israeli senior military people, including all of the IDF chief of staff, or the former, signed a petition demanding the government of Israel after the 18th of March 2025 to stop the war and not to expand the military operations. And they say precisely this, that there is no purpose, there is no goal, and there is not any objective that can be reached, which is worth the cost and the loss of lives of Israeli soldiers, the loss of lives of Israeli hostages, and of course the loss of lives of non-Palestinian, non-involved Palestinians living in Gaza. We don't have to forget, while we wanted to destroy Hamas, which was absolutely a legitimate purpose, and we did a lot to do it, and it was absolutely justified, and I support this, everyone from the beginning. We never had an objective, we never set it out as a goal for Israel to destroy Palestinians for the sake of destroying Palestinians. I mean, short of what Ben-Gvir and Smotrich says, but I'm talking about the reasonable, responsible voices in the Israeli society. We never want to kill so many non-involved Palestinians to that degree, and therefore, in May and earlier, actually, at the beginning, towards the end of March 2025, it was clear that there is not any further goal that is worth all the possible ramifications of expanded military operation. And I didn't use, but some others did, saying that this military operation is made for one purpose, to satisfy the personal political interests of the Prime Minister of Israel. In other words, others, not like me, accused the Prime Minister of Israel for waging a war which will kill thousands, Israelis, hostages, Palestinians, for the sake of one purpose, his own personal interests. So I think that I was moderate and mild and responsible and measured, but absolutely accurate.
No, you also said in the op-ed that you didn't hold that position until then, but then at some point you realized enough is enough. But do you really think that at a time of a soaring delegitimization campaign against Israel, Israelis, and Jews, that statement from a former prime minister served Israel's best interest?
Not only served Israel, I think that it was very positive for the interest of Israel to have said this, because that puts the perception of what Israel is in somewhat more balanced manner. Problem is that, and I feel it perhaps more than most, because first of all, I'm traveling across the world all the time. I'm invited to every place to speak up and to be interviewed and so on. And I meet with people. And their impression of Israel are the impressions of what Ben-Gvir and Smotrich say, which destroys, tarnishes everything that was left of what was the image of the state of Israel in the world. And they are quoting to me sometimes, they are asking me, listen, you say that there is no genocide. I defend Israel, saying there is no genocide. There is not a policy of perpetrating criminal war crimes. There's not a policy. War crimes were committed, and I accused Israel for doing it. But it was not a policy. It was not a purpose. It was not a goal set forth by anyone in the government. I mean, by the government as government, or by the higher military command. But they quote to me and they say, look, this is what Ben-Gvir, the Minister of National Security, not an insignificant member of the cabinet, or a Minister of Finance say. They say every Hamas has to be killed.
Yeah, a lot of these statements are used in the courts.
Hang on. And then they say, quote from them, that everyone in Gaza is Hamas, which means that we should kill everyone in Gaza because we should kill every Hamas and everyone is Hamas. And they ask me, what is it if not a call for genocide? And so I had to put things in perspective, and I think that the fact that I was known to be a critic of the Israeli government, not a supporter. And at the same time that I accused the Israeli government for doing things which were totally unacceptable, that has somehow helped put things in a somewhat more balanced and more acceptable perspective. And therefore, I think that it helped Israel rather than it damaged.
All right, I'm glad we touched on that. Now let's move on to Lebanon. Thursday will mark 1 year to the ceasefire when, during that time, Israel's been carrying out at least 2 strikes a day on average, killed hundreds of Hezbollah operatives, including targeting the chief of staff of Hezbollah at the beginning of the week. Now, the Lebanese government has vowed to disarm Hezbollah, despite in practice so far dragging its feet with this process. So how do you view Israel's current policy in Lebanon?
I think, I'm not privy to all the intelligence, all the information, and I have to be careful when I judge it, but it appears to me that if indeed there are any attempts made by Hezbollah to restore its military capacity, and which is against a resolution to ceasefire in Lebanon, I think that Israeli actions to reach out for the what remains of Hezbollah, or what perhaps is starting to build from Hezbollah, is legitimate and is appropriate. It has to be done. Of course, it has to be done. I would recommend, and I hope that things are done. I don't know that we are trying to reach out for the government of Lebanon, trying to coordinate certain of the operations. Of course, tacitly, not above the ground, but underground, in a very careful and respectful manner, but trying to coordinate it, because I think that the purpose, the goal of the Lebanese government is more or less the same. They are not happy with Hezbollah, and I don't think that they want to be captive again of this terrorist organization. So we can perhaps do things together with the Lebanese government on the way to hopefully lay the foundations for what eventually can become a security agreement between Israel and Lebanon.
So there's potential talks between Israel and Lebanon. There's also UN security resolutions, but at the end of the second Lebanon war, you were prime minister at the time, the UN drafted resolution 1701, which called for the disarmament of Hezbollah, similar to what is being called now, but nothing happened. And today, Israel is enforcing the agreement daily. So why didn't we see such a zero tolerance policy after 2006?
I laugh.
What?
Why do I laugh? The war in Lebanon, second war in Lebanon, ended up on the 14th of August, 2006. And for 18 years, yes, or 17 years, more than 17 years, there wasn't one bullet shot from Lebanon across the border to the state of Israel. It was a stunning strategic success. I know that at the time when it happened,
in the interim, they regrouped. They rearmed.
Hang on. They short-sighted, and also politically motivated commentators or analysts didn't have the broad mind to understand it. But eventually it turned out to be a reality. For 17 years, there was not one bullet shot. Now, at the time that I was prime minister, and I was only for a short period of time afterwards, there wasn't one bullet brought in to Lebanon. And when they tried to bring it, we attacked it and destroyed it. What happened afterwards, when someone else became prime minister, Mr. Security, there is a different issue. I can tell you one thing, that we have established then, part of the was 1701, also an international force, which then was made of soldiers not from the islands of Fiji or from the Philippines, but from Italy, from France, from Great Britain, from European countries. And it was a very effective international force. Germany was the only country. In my discussions with Angela Merkel, she said to me, I have nightmares when I think that there will be German soldiers in the south of Lebanon that will possibly clash with an Israeli soldier. This is something I can't even think about. it causes me nightmares. So what did they do, the Germans, in helping us? They helped us with the German military fleet to block the passage of Iranian boats that were destined to come to Lebanon providing weapons. So there was, the sea entry was blocked, and then on the ground they tried to bring in the weapons. And in a strange way, all these convoys of weapons, whenever they crossed the border of Turkey into Syria, they exploded. Up until a new government of Israel took over, and a new strategy was shaped, and a new approach was articulated, and a new prime minister had new concepts, and the rest is history. But the 1701 was a very measured, calculated, balanced, responsible resolution that was then, it was drafted by the Secretary of State, Condoleezza Rice, and myself, word by word. It was unanimously adopted by the UN Security Council, and it was implemented on the ground for as long as I remained Prime Minister. What happened afterwards?
Mm-hmm. So at that time, there were shipments, as you mentioned, that crossed from Turkey into Syria and miraculously exploded.
Miraculously, yes, exploded.
Okay. According to foreign sources, as is said.
Even according to local forces.
Okay. Now, I really want to get your take on this. The 12-day war with Iran back in June was just the second time in the past 2 decades that Israel struck an enemy nuclear facility. The first was in 2007, when you ordered the strike on a nuclear facility under construction in Syria, an operation outside the box. Do you see any similarities between the two operations?
Well, you're kidding, don't you? In 2007, we destroyed the atomic reactor in Syria, completely, thoroughly. An atomic reactor that was about to be warmed up and become a major, a real, imminent threat to the very existence of Israel. In 2025, June, there was a brilliant military operation of Israel against Iran. It had nothing to do with the atomic nuclear facilities. America, you just forgot, who attacked the nuclear facilities, not Israel.
Both struck the same nuclear facilities.
America attacked the nuclear facilities. We attacked military facilities, a brilliant, courageous, and mostly successful operation, which I'm proud of, that we did. But the nuclear facilities were not attacked by Israel, they were attacked, the underground, the serious nuclear facilities, on-ground facilities that were servicing or that was remotely related, perhaps were attacked by us, but this is not what made the difference. What made the difference was the American attack. I have to put things in the right place. We have to be proud of what we did, which was, I think, brilliant and astonishing, considering the fact that the skies of Iran, of Tehran, are 1,200 kilometers from Israel. And we had found a way to reach out there and to take control of the skies. Brilliant, important, courageous, and very, very significant. The nuclear was done by America.
Mm-hmm. All right. Let's move on to our last part of the show, the rapid fire segment. I'm going to show you 3 pictures, and you share with me and the viewers the first thing that comes to mind. So let's take a look at the first picture. This is U.S. President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House back in February.
I can see that the boss is looking at his assistant and making sure that he does the right thing. And the boss is the one who stands, not the ones looking at the book.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the second picture. This is you and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas in the Annapolis talks in 2007.
Israel needs such a modern-day picture of negotiations between us and Palestine. The time has come The fact that we have ignored the Palestinian Authority for 15 years is a dramatic mistake that was part of what brought about the terrible disaster of the 7th of October. We prefer to flirt with Hamas rather than to deal with those of the Palestinians that are not Israeli friends, that are not Zionists, that are not even considering being a member of Likud. They are Palestinian patriots, but they were seriously considering making peace with us. And we, in the last 15 years, decided not to embark on this, not to attempt to make peace with them. So I hope that there will be a new picture with a different leader from the Israeli side.
Probably won't be a different leader from the Palestinian side.
Maybe there will be a Palestinian leader from the Palestinian side. I mean, not a different from this one, a different from the one who is now the leader of the state.
Yeah, no, I understand. But I mean, on these talks in Annapolis, the offer that was presented by Israel is considered the most generous offer
Absolutely.
that the Palestinians ever received from Israel. So are the Palestinians, or is the PA the ultimate refuser?
There is no, I don't know. It doesn't mean that we don't have to try again and again and again and again, because there is no alternative to it. What are we up to? Are we up to continue to fight terrorists for the rest of our lives, to be heroes and to kill more thousands of Palestinians and to destroy more villages of Palestinians and to destroy more Gazans and to control 5, 6, 7 million Palestinians without rights, to occupy them forever? I mean, is this the future that we are looking for ourselves, or are we looking for some new horizon that may be difficult, that may be complex, that may be sensitive, that may not be so easy, that will require a much different approach by the Palestinian leadership and a much more courageous and forthcoming speakers for the Palestinians? But what is the alternative?
It is a valid point, but Mr. Olmert, they turned down the most generous offer that they have ever received, and so
they never turned it down. They never say yes. It's a difference. They all keep saying, up till today, when you'll talk to Mahmoud Abbas, he will tell you, I never said no to Olmert, which is true. And I always keep
in peace,
reminding.
if you don't say yes, it's
yeah,
a
of
no.
course, of course. Listen, I'm not releasing him or relieving him of his responsibility, of his terrible failure, of something that has been by historical proportions, because had he then said yes, as I told him at that time, I told him, President, let's change history. Let's make a difference to the lives of millions of people. Let's do something that will change the world. Let's do it. And at that time, he didn't have the courage.
Now, let's look at the last photo. This is the International Criminal Court building in The Hague.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something. I very much hope that they will remove the arrest warrant from the Prime Minister and the Minister Gallant, because as I said, I don't think that there ever was. We may have committed crimes, and I said it, and I accused the state of Israel for doing it. And this is not something that can be ignored or can be wiped out. Was there a policy of the state of Israel? There was no genocide. There was not a policy of genocide. There was not a policy of war crimes. There were war crimes, as it happens, unfortunately. The war crimes which I am much more concerned about are the war crimes which are committed on a daily basis in the territories, in the West Bank, by Israelis, with the closing of the eyes of the Israeli police and the Israeli army. Every day there are crimes which are war crimes, which are committed by Israelis, which we know that they are committed, and I've been warning it time and again, and that will bring us into the International Court of Criminal Court much faster than what may have happened in Gaza. So what I want to say in conclusion is this. The arrest warrant should be removed. Measures by Israel should be taken to stop the atrocities which are committed by Israelis in the West Bank as part of a strategy that is sponsored by major factors in the Israeli cabinet, hoping that it will help bring an expulsion of the Palestinians from the West Bank, which is a terrible, terrible idea that is totally unacceptable and unforgivable. The crimes, I'm very much in favor of indicting the Israeli Prime Minister for the crimes that he committed to the State of Israel in the Israeli courts against what he did to the solidarity of the State of Israel, to the unity of the people of Israel, to the security of the State of Israel, and to the future and the hopes for a much better life for the people of Israel.
Mm-hmm. But not in The Hague. Former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you coming and speaking with us. That's
Thank you.
all the time we have this week. I want to, again, thank you, former Prime Minister Ehud Olmert, for your time and very interesting insight. Join us again next week here at On the Record. You can find today's episode and all previous shows on YouTube and Spotify. Thank you for watching.